Do you remember when you're young as a kid and you think that your parents are like gods? Like they just know everything and that whatever they say goes. So there's a lot of rules and constraints on your life, but you're happy to follow them because you think that they are these beings who just know the right thing in every situation. Then you go through your adolescence and teenage period where you start to rebel. You start to think that everything that they say is a load of shit, and you stop following their rules, and you just become oppositional to pretty much everything that they say. Then you get a bit older and you start to intertwine like both concepts where you're like, okay, some of their rules serve me, some of them were completely arbitrary and make no sense, and now that I'm an adult I can decide what kind of constraints or rules I want to impose on myself. This is the stage that a lot of people who are really well versed in fitness and nutrition reach, particularly coaches or people who have studied this as a profession, where you start off very much at I guess you're at the tail end, like let's say if you don't know much about fitness and nutrition and you're just following a lot of arbitrary rules. Like if somebody who has a good physique tells you to cut out carbohydrates, you're going to do it. Or someone says that you need to buy a certain protein supplement. You don't question it and you just do it. Oh, they've got a lot of followers. They're in amazing shape. I need to do that too, right? Then there's this point where you start to see that actually a lot of these things make no sense. And you go through this cycle of thinking that whatever that person told you to do is complete BS, and you go down a different approach and so on. But it's when you reach that clarity of actually intertwining some of the rules from this person and some of the rules from that person and starting with what works for the constraints of your own life, that's where you can really ditch the arbitrary rules and you can focus on the overarching principles that's going to help you with your fat loss journey within the constraints of your existing lifestyle. Maybe you're a busy parent. Maybe you have a very successful career. Maybe you are an entrepreneur and you don't have many hours in the day. Maybe you're an entrepreneur where your performance really matters to you. So you need to be cognitively sharp and everything that you do revolves around your business, right? We need to start with those constraints and then we need to focus on the principles that are going to help you achieve your fat loss goal. But we also want to do it within constraints that make sense for your life. We don't want to do things like, I don't know, if you're a performance athlete telling you to do intermittent fasting, right? Or telling you that you can't eat late in the evening if your work schedule means that you can't actually eat that much during the day, right? These are the implementation type rules, which actually don't make any difference, right? So things like cutting out carbohydrates, not eating past a certain time of the day, how frequently you eat in the day, so how many meals. These things have like little to no impact on whether or not you're going to lose fat. What actually matters is that you're in a caloric deficit, right? So you will lose weight no matter what if you're in a calorie deficit. So if you're using more calories than you're consuming, right? But then the next constraint we obviously want is to have enough protein and to have enough resistance training in the mix that it's all fat that we're losing and that we're maintaining and even possibly building some lean muscle mass, right? So once we have these overarching principles in place, the next thing we want to do is we want to pick a method of implementation and constraints that work for our lifestyle, okay? So let's imagine you piece it together like this, right? You want to have a very active social life. You also want to maybe train in the mornings. And let's say you want to take the weekends off. You don't want to work, you don't want to train, you don't want to do any of that, okay? You can start with those constraints. Then you start with the principles of I need to be in a calorie deficit, I need to have my protein on point. And then, only then do we work in what other rules you're going to give for yourself, what kind of style of eating you're going to employ. Because specific diets like keto, intermittent fasting, carnivore, etc., all they are implementation tools, right? That bridge the gap between you and your calorie deficit. If you found this helpful, if you want more information about how you can have a more flexible approach to fat loss and to your nutrition in general, all while saving time, then subscribe to this channel. You can also check out the links in the description. There will be links in there to my mailing list and to one-on-one fat loss coaching.